Hello and welcome to this interview series ahead of Cloud and Cybersecurity Expo on the 6th and 7th of March at Excel London. I'm Rebecca Uffindell, tech reporter at Techarati, and today my guest is Stu Hirst, Chief Information Security Officer at Trustpilot. Stu will appear at Cloud and Cybersecurity Expo in March, but today we're going back in time to talk about 3 significant years in Stu's life. So what is the first year of significance you would like to share with us?
So I think my first year that I submitted was 2010, and that was the year that I took a year out of my traditional day job, I guess. What happened was I was a mainframe developer for about 12 years, and not very good one. And in my spare time, I was a DJ, sound engineer, and record producer part-time. So what I did in 2010 was I was offered redundancy in my job with the bank, and decided to take a year out and pursue music full-time, which was a fantastic year of kind of fun and traveling and DJing and things, but kind of ran out of money, couldn't sustain the lifestyle on the meager kind of money that would come through from music. And at the end of that period, I got into a company called the Train Line, a sort of leading UK tech company, and that was when my security career started. I was asked to take on a security role, or compliance role as it was back then, and that really was the start of the career that I still find myself in. So that whole year for me was had I not taken that year, I don't know if I'd have ended up where I've ended up now. So ended up being a super important year of my life.
What was it about that job that made you think that maybe this is the year to put aside the DJing and the performing?
Yeah, I couldn't sustain the lifestyle really. It was a very difficult industry to make a living out of. Also, I sort of started to fall out of love with some of the music side of things a little bit. As I was getting a bit older, met my wife that year as well and settled down, and it was just a combination of a few things. But I think also moving from, I'd been at a bank for 12 years, to move into the fast-paced kind of tech world was kind of super exciting. I hadn't really seen technology at that level until I got into that realm. So it was a very big shift really. That year, and then obviously moving into a security role, I didn't really know too much about cybersecurity, and huge learning curve. So yeah, really kind of a year of sort of exploration, joining the Train Line.
What kind of music did you play?
It was a bit of everything back then: house, trance, techno, tech house. Yeah,
nice.
Depending on the mood.
Did you do any festivals or?
I DJ'd a couple of things. I did a thing called the Baltic Beach Party in Latvia. I used to travel to Eastern Europe quite a lot. The last gig I ever did was at the top of a skyscraper in Singapore on New Year's Eve.
And I'm kind of curious, so how do you perceive this intersection between creativity as like experience in music and then the technical aspects of cybersecurity? How do those two meet when you decided to change your career path?
Most of it was technology based. I mean, especially when I was making music, it was lots of new software, new technology to use when making music. So I guess moving into the cybersecurity world, it's lots of fast-paced technical change. I think they're probably the two similarities. And then just I found when I moved into cybersecurity, maybe it's just the pace of change and the impact you can have. Yeah, quite addictive actually. There's a reason we're all sort of super enthusiastic in security. I think it's just because it's such an interesting space. So I suppose they're the similarities really to the music side.
Enthusiasm, you mentioned that was, you've noticed loads of people in cybersecurity have that same enthusiasm. Are there any other kind of converging traits or traits that you've seen in other professionals like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're an inquisitive lot in security. There's very much a steep learning curve regardless of where you are in your career path, and I think there's some common themes across people in the industry around that. That there's a shared goal, I guess, which is to help improve the internet, I guess, and or whatever it is that you're securing, I guess, whether it's a kind of physical assets or digital ones. So I think there's a common theme across most security people. I wonder if there's a collective pain that we all suffer in that way. You know, it's a very tricky job at times. It can be stressful and can be 100 things to fix at any point in time. I wonder if there's a collective understanding between each other that the job's difficult and that we share some pain. There's a bit of that.
To the position you are now to back then, how has cybersecurity changed? How has it evolved?
I mean, the thing that stands out is the shift to cloud. I think when I started, it was all very much data centers, but other, equipment that you kind of leased and rented, and therefore you were responsible for lots of patching and things of servers that you owned. Whereas the shift to the big cloud providers sped things up considerably. The automation side of things moved very quickly. 2013 to 14, something like that. So I think just the way applications are built compared to back then is very, very different. The agility we now have, pushing code hundreds of times a day, if in some companies, compared to once a month or once a fortnight as it used to be back then, even in tech companies. It's amazing to think back just how much has changed in a relatively short period.
What do you look for now in a team? What are some good markers of a good cybersecurity team? Is it that they're able to adapt and evolve, or is there something a bit more layered to it than that?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the role, but I mean, traits that I look for the teams that I've built are pretty consistent. It's integrity. It's a sort of willingness to learn and to chuck yourself in the deep end of things that you don't understand. It tends to be far less around sort of technical capabilities, because we can teach those. Sometimes it's comfort in the environment itself. I mean, I almost exclusively work for tech companies during my time in security, and there's a pace at which things happen that people need to be comfortable with. There's a lot of autonomy in my teams, so I don't tell people what to do every day. They have a lot of freedom to decide what the right thing to do is. So it needs people that have that have a comfort level with that. So it tends to be sort of more soft skill things that I particularly look for, because I think the tech can be taught.
What year would you like to speak about for your second year?
So 2014, I was leaving the train line, I think, and I was at the end of interviewing for two organizations, very different organizations. One was Skyscanner and one was MI5. So I was actually very close to moving into a very different world of secrecy and government work, potentially. And I chose the Skyscanner job. I got offered that role, and it was to move back to Edinburgh, where I'm from. I was in London at the time, so me and my wife decided that we would move back to Edinburgh, and it really ignited my career, I guess. It was just a brilliant time to join an amazing company, of which I still speak very highly. The trajectory that company was on at that time was just amazing, and it was just a brilliant near 3 years that I spent with them. Relocated back to where I'm from. It was a sort of life-changing year for my career, for my family. I still see it as the 3 years that I learned the most in security. I was sort of chucked into this wild environment of change, and just probably some of the best people I've ever worked with, either technical ability and also as individuals, as human beings. Just a great year, and to move into that company and learn from there. I look back on that, and I don't think I knew what I was doing compared to what I think these days. I wonder if I'll feel the same way in 10 years about now. But they were very good at offering just this environment to learn and to adapt and to sort of feel your way through a role. And I managed to build a sort of reasonable early team there before it sort of grew into a bigger thing. So that year sticks out as probably quite career changing. It sort of really propelled me into real technical security and building teams and trying to strategize a lot more than I had been doing at an earlier level. So yeah, 2014, that was a good year, the end of that.
What kind of really set Skyscanner apart from MI5 at that time?
I think they were number 3 in the top 10 or top 50 organizations to work for in the UK, one of the Times polls or something like that. So I was able to read up quite a lot on the culture and kind of what that meant. The reality was I didn't really understand until I got in just how good that was. Leadership was fantastic, very, very strong set of empathetic leaders. Just the whole culture vibe. Every day was fun, really. It didn't feel pressurized. I guess some of it probably was, but it felt like just people doing the best work of their careers, and at a time that the company was ready just to take off. And excuse the pun, that was accidental. Yeah, just a great time to be in tech. Really, cloud had just kind of really kicked in at companies, so there was this shift to the cloud providers, and lots of positive change.
And what are some key things or achievements or goals that you managed to achieve at your time there? Does anything stick out in your mind?
The big one I think that I still talk about is bug bounty. I was one of the first people to roll out eventually a public bug bounty scheme with one of the leading companies. I think one of the first in Europe to do that. It was very new, very shiny. Lots of failure to roll that out and scale it out across a business, but it created a lot of positive change as well within that company, also within the tech industry. That felt like being just almost at the inception or the forefront of something really big, and bug bounties turned into quite a powerful thing now. So that, I think if I look back on anything that I did during that 3 years, there was a hell of a lot of great stuff by the team and by the organization, but I think that felt special.
Have you had any mentors in your career that you look up to, and they've really helped shape where you are right now? Or is it more so that you've had like a strong network of people that have helped further you along?
Both, frankly. I've got lots of people in the industry that I admire, that I've connected with, that I've learned from. Absolutely. Some strong leaders that I've worked for at numerous organizations, not necessarily just security leaders, but chief information officers or that kind of person. So yeah, a mixture of both, really. I follow X number of leading people in the security industry at very strong companies and learn a hell of a lot from those people. And these events are great because we all network and we all kind of share learnings, and it's a good space for us to come together to share some of that.
In your final year, what year have you selected?
This was last year, I think, 2023. A strange year, weirdly kind of less positive in terms of what happened. I lost a stack of my hearing last year, or progressively over 2022 and into 2023, to the point that I went reasonably deaf. Middle of 2023, so I ended up having to get hearing aids and then sort of adapt to this now sort of crazy world that I live in. I've got some really powerful earbuds, so I can generally make out most things. So a pretty tricky year, less kind of happy compared to the ones that I've described before, but a really transformative year personally, in that I adapted to that difficulty. It was I'm a CISO at a tech company. I have a young family, and it was very impactful to that in lots of different ways. But I feel like I've sort of come out the back of some of that and adapted to the difficulty, and sort of feel like I've proven that I can carry on doing the job at the level that it has to be done with that disability. And I suppose while it's been unfortunate, it's been a big learning curve, and I'm taking lots of positives from it, to be honest. I'm back into speaking things and back doing the things that I love doing, albeit with a bit more added difficulty than I had before. But so I see last year as being quite challenging, and yet lots of positives that have come from it. I had pretty strong resilience beforehand, but it's tested it to its limit, and I feel like I can still carry on this crazy job with half working ears.
What strategies did you employ in order to cope with it the best that you could at the time, and also returning to the speaker circuit?
I definitely got to a point where I was struggling at work. I couldn't hear people in the office. I couldn't hear people in meeting rooms. I've always been okay on Zoom or online because of the power of the technology I've got, but I couldn't hear people physically in rooms. So I would have sessions or workshops with leading vendors or third parties and just not be able to hear them. I guess I look back on that and I probably didn't cope brilliantly is the answer to that section of it. But what I do in general to help is a number of things. I'm hyper focused on my health and fitness, so I eat well, try and limit, alcohol and various other things. And I'm not a complete saint when it comes to these things, but I very much look after my health better than I ever have. Exercise, training, kind of, I guess, fairly standard things. I had 5 rounds of therapy, which my wife encouraged me to go and use, which I'd never done before, and I found that exceptionally useful just to work through a few issues. I know there's other security professionals who do use things like therapy and counselling for various stress related things. Found that very powerful actually, as a mechanism. And then as I've got back into the speaking side of things, I'm just very open about it. I did the first talk back in September, I think it was, first time with hearing aids, and I added a bit of humor to the talk around it and just explained that if you've got questions, if I don't have my hearing aids in, I can't hear you. So there's a practicality that needs to happen. So the Cloud Expo will be no different. I'll be fine when I'm talking, but as people try and communicate back at some point, I need to use technology to help me a bit. So a few sort of different coping things.
That's great. And how has Trustpilot supported you in this as well? And how has that raised your awareness of inclusion in the workplace, if at all?
Massively, on both. Trustpilot have been very supportive on the journey, which has been difficult because it didn't sort of just happen overnight. It was a progressive thing. Everything from kind of support from HR to physical things in the office, improving the microphones in meeting rooms, the speakers. I've done some blogs and some internal awareness on a few of these things to help. And yes, just inclusion in general, absolutely. I've always been very aware of that as a topic anyway, and like to think that I've been reasonably clued up on that. But it's definitely sort of highlighted some things I think we can all think about, not just for hearing disability, but general disability or difficulty in the workplace. So but Trustpilot have been absolutely fantastic and very supportive.
What advice would you offer other professionals maybe going through something similar?
Go and see a doctor earlier than I did. Don't be a typical bloke if that's what you are, because I think sometimes it can be the wrong thing to do. So use the health service as you need to, because I didn't early on. And then I guess just explore those other avenues, because I found it challenged some of my preconceived ideas on some of those things. I was very much somebody who thought that therapy wasn't quite for them, probably great for lots of other people, but something I didn't personally need. And yet I tried those things out and found them very valuable. So I think don't assume that something can't help, that there are support networks and things out there. I've done things like join Facebook groups and lots of exploring groups who've got similar issues to see if there's any learnings that can be shared. Those kind of things. I guess seek help, right? So you don't have to do these things alone as they happen.
Looking ahead, what goals and aspirations do you have for this year?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm just getting used to what my world is like now. So I feel like I've come out of that difficulty and can really move on. I've got an extremely busy year at work. I've got a great team. We've got some really important deliverables as a business, with security front and center of those. So I think it's more of that on a personal level. I'm enjoying getting back to the speaking events. I'm back to traveling again, which is a big part of my life. Getting back to music events that I enjoy. Just trying to get back to some of the things I feel I've been missing. So no crazy aspirations for this year.
Cloud and Cybersecurity Expo coming up next month. Is there anything you'd like to share ahead of the event?
So I've spoken at this event a few times. The last one was a week before the lockdowns kicked in 2020. So it was actually quite a strange experience back then. So it'll be really nice to be back. It's a great event from the ones that I've been at. My talk this time is on imposter syndrome, which I've delivered at numerous events over the years, and I adapt that talk as the years go on, as my own understanding of that topic evolves. What the talk focuses on is, what is imposter syndrome? What is it for people who maybe haven't heard of it before? How does it come about? How does it manifest itself? There's a section about why I feel that it's more prevalent in cybersecurity than other areas of tech or business that I've seen. And then really just my learnings on how I've largely overcome imposter syndrome. So a few things for people to take away on what they might want to do about it if they feel they have it. So it's a bit of a different talk. I really enjoy doing this one because it's slightly different to technical security talks or strategic things. It's very much about my own journey of learning from that topic. Tends to go down quite well, so I'm really super excited to be back and speaking about it.